Hey y'all, Jamie here with Country Diggers. Today I'm going to go into the background of the song Pretty Polly. Now, these are what's called murder ballads. And there's a story behind them. So stay tuned for that. But I guess I'm going to have to sing again because, I don't want to get a copyright, so I'm going to sing. I'm going to sing Pretty Polly, and it's going to be the Hillary Burhan's version. I've got her on iTunes. I've got her version on iTunes. But I also like Ruby Throat's, Katie Jane Garside's version. Now, I can't find that on iTunes, but she's on YouTube with it. And Pretty Polly. All right. Oh, and I'll be using the lyrics that I put down. I'll be using them from the Ralph Stanley version, so they may be a little different from what I sang. I'm going to sing it from Hillary Burhan's version. All right. Oh, Polly, pretty Polly, won't you go along with me? Polly, my pretty Polly, go along with me. Before we get married, some pleasure we will see. Well, she jumped up behind him, and away they did go. Well, she jumped up behind him, and away they did go. Over the mountains and valleys so low. Willie, oh Willie, I'm afraid of your ways. Oh Willie, I'm afraid of your ways. I'm afraid you mean to lead my poor body astray. And Willie, oh Willie, I'm afraid for my life. Oh Willie, I'm afraid for my life. I'm afraid you mean to murder me and leave me behind. Polly, my pretty Polly, you guessed it about right. Oh Polly, my pretty Polly, girl, you guessed it just about right. I've been digging on your grave here for the best part of last night. All right. Okay, so now we will go into the story. I'm going to read from Wikipedia because you can read the Gosport tragedy, which the song is based on. But some of it is very, very long. So I'm going for the Wikipedia short version. All right, Pretty Polly. Pretty Polly, the Gosport tragedy, or the Cruel Ship's Carpenter, is a traditional English language folk song found in the British Isles, Canada, and the Appalachian region of North America, among other places. The song is a murder ballad, telling of a young woman lured into the forest where she is killed and buried in a shallow grave. Many variants of the story have the villain as a ship's carpenter who promises to marry Polly but murders her when she becomes pregnant. When he goes back to sea, he is either haunted by her ghost, confesses to the murder, goes mad and dies, or the ship will not sail. He denies the murder and is ripped to pieces by her ghost. The Gosport tragedy involved into the ship's carpenter and Pretty Polly losing many of the specifics of the original. The Gosport tragedy, there are a number of extant broadside copies of the Gosport tragedy. The earliest known version, it is a lengthy ballad composed of rhymed couplets, 16 verses of 8 lines each. A copy at the Lewis Walpole Library has an estimated date of 1760 to 1765. In the Gosport tragedy, Story of a Ballad, D.C. Fowler argued that the events described in the song may have taken place in 1926. The ship identified as the Bedford often lay at Portsmouth, as in the song. Fowler found evidence that a ship's carpenter on the Bedford by the name of John Bilson died at sea on the 25th of September 1726, and that there was a Charles Stewart among the crew members at the time, as noted in some versions. The tragic protagonist, Molly, does not seem to have been buried at the parish church of St. Mary's, Alverstroke, the presumed Gosford church, as claimed in the song. Although hardly conclusive, a number of subsequent commentators have regarded Fowler's scenario as plausible. First printed in about 1727, the ballad tells the tale of Bilson's murder of his pregnant girlfriend and his flight aboard the ship MMS Bedford. According to the story, a haunting turn occurred when a ghost confronted seaman Charles Stewart in the dark hold of the ship with a baby in her arms. When questioned by Captain Edmund Hook, the real villain saw the ghost of his lover before him, fell to his knees and confessed to the ghastly crime. He later died aboard ship, presumably of scurvy. Okay, later versions in the 19th century considerably shortened and altered broadside versions began appearing under a wide range of titles, including Love and Murder, The Cruel Ship's Carpenter, Polly's Love, The Cruel Ship Carpenter, Nancy's Ghost, Molly the Betrayed, and The Fog-Bound Vessel. The protagonist frequently appears as Polly, though not Pretty Polly, and the locale is often given as Worcester. Although the names of Molly and Gosport appear in some, and there is little doubt of the connection with the Gosport tragedy. The modern use is, in the United States, the song had gained new life as a banjo tune by the time of its earliest recordings in the mid-1920s, which is what Hilary Burnham's version is. It's got banjo music and it's a banjo Appalachian tune. Okay. Where was I? The earliest recordings in the mid-1920s, John Hammond's Pretty Polly, Purty, of 1925 and 1927, and the Pretty Polly, Pretty, versions of B.F. Shelton and Doc Boggs, both of 1927. Doc Boggs is pretty good at singing it too. I love that one too. You can find that one on iTunes too. But as for, you can find which one, let me see. Which one was it more, oh well, I'll find it in a minute. Anyway, American versions of the song, such as those of B.F. Shelton and Doc Boggs, tend to begin in the first person. I courted Pretty Polly, and switched to the third person for the murder. He stabbed her to the heart. Gene Ritchie's 1963 recording, as well as Judy Collins' 1968 recording, featured alternating verses, switching back and forth between Polly and Willie perspectives. American versions also tend to either omit the reason for killing Pretty Polly or portray him as a spurned suitor. And Willie's subsequent madness, debt to the devil or haunting by Polly's ghost, with the remorseful killer instead turning himself in and confessing to police. That's America for you, all right. But the ballad is the musical basis for the Ballad of Hollis Brown by Bob Dylan. Now, I love that song too, but I love the version that the Old Blind Dogs sang, and also I can't remember. Okay, what's that? Nina Simone. Nina Simone sings it too, and it's good. Old Brown Dogs and Nina Simone, Ballad of Hollis Brown. But Bob Dylan sings it too, but I like their Old Blind Dogs and Nina Simone's best. But anyway, the ballad is the musical basis for the Ballad of Hollis Brown by Bob Dylan, who played Pretty Polly himself in his earlier years. Wood Guthrie used the tune Pretty Polly for Pastures of Plenty. David Lindsay's version alters the ending and has Polly draw a razor and kill Willie instead. The South African Congolese bluegrass crossover crossover band Congo Cowboys released a version of the song in 2020. Notable artists Judy Collins under Pretty Polly, Peter Bellamy, The Ghost Song, John Borden, The Ghost Song, Jackie Oates, The Cruel Ship's Carpenter, John Raven, Love and Murder, Mike Watterson, The Cruel Ship's Carpenter, Watterson Carthy, Polly's Love. Okay, Ralph Stanley was who I was trying to think of. Ralph Stanley's on iTunes too with this, with Patty Loveless. Okay. And notable artists who performed Pretty Polly: Opie O'Donovan, B.F. Shelton, Bella Flacken, Abigail Washburn, Bert Jansa, Bill Frisell, Bob Dylan, Burl Ives, Chris Jones, the Coon Creek Girls, Current 93, Davy Graham, David Stringbean Ackman, David Lindley, Doc Boggs, Doc Dog, Estelle C. Ball, Gilbert O'Sullivan, Grada, Hobart Smith, Gene Ritchie, John Fahey, John Pierce, Judy Collins, Kevin Spacey, Kirsten Hirsch, Morgan Sexton, Lee Sexton, Mick Harris and Martin Bates, Patty Loveless, Pete Seeger, Queen Adrena, Ralph Stanley, Sam Adman, Sandy Denny, Shirley Collins, Sturgill Simpson, Sweeney's Men, the Byrds, the Dillards, the Kruger Brothers, the Red Fox Chasers, the Sadies, the Stanley Brothers, the String Cheese Incident, Vanderveer, and Yonder Mountain String Band. And also Hillary Burhans and Ruby Throat's Katie Jane Garside. All right, hope y'all enjoyed. See you back soon.